A Thursday in New Jersey as the sun sets this November 10th. Welcome inside Studio S. This is Market Movers. My name is Dan Koob. We have a really fun show for you today. Of course, a Thursday night football preview coming up with you with Mike Kaye of the Charlotte Observer. Interesting game tonight. The weather in Carolina is expected to be terrible, which could help us from a trading perspective. Let's hop in and talk to Mike. Mike Kaye of the Charlotte Observer, formerly of NJ.com and Pro Football Network. If you've read his stuff, you know he is awesome. Joins us on Market Movers right now ahead of Thursday night football, the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. What's going on, Mike? How are you?
Thanks for having me. Nothing. Just getting ready for this rainstorm, really. I mean, and Thursday night football. It's the Panthers' only primetime game. So if you want some insight into being a beat writer, this is maybe the worst type of football you can cover because everything you write is going to be published Friday. So yeah, there's that. But super stoked. Stoked.
Sounds really exciting, and I hope you packed your poncho. I am actually curious about that. So you, correct me if I'm wrong, you started on the beat about 6-ish weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it feels like it's been 6 years, but yeah, based on everything that's happened. So I got here, covered 2 games of Matt Rule. He got fired. Then the week after that, Robbie Anderson gets traded. Then Christian McCaffrey gets traded. And it's been not so smooth sailing ever since, but at least they've given me a lot to write about.
Maybe it's you. Who knows?
Maybe.
So what do you do as a beat writer when you show up on the scene, right? What is like one of the first couple things you do to sort of ingratiate yourself to a new beat?
Well, for one, you want to get to know the fan base. So social media is very helpful with that. You kind of look for, notable fans who kind of speak for the vocal minority, maybe, but so that you know that you're kind of understanding what they're thinking, as well as you don't want to get too inundated with the fan base, because obviously you've got to cover this from a very objective standpoint, and then you kind of gotta infiltrate the organization. You gotta get to know people that work there. You've got to create relationships. You got to get to know the locker room. Ellis Williams, my beat partner, who does an amazing job for the Charlotte Observer, and Scott Fowler, our columnist, they really helped me kind of catch my breath. But it was very similar to when I got into Philly, because I started week 2 of 2018. So I missed the opening game where they hung up the Super Bowl banner, and then I had to start on the fly in Tampa. So I wasn't like completely out of whack, but it has been an interesting experience.
You mentioned Matt Rule getting fired. This team has been through a crazy couple of weeks. Do you think they've struggled because 80% of the organization is from Temple? Let's just be honest. Let's cut through the heart of it.
What's surprising is when Matt Rule got fired, I thought they were going to wipe out all of his guys, but Sam Franklin's still here, Sean Chandler,
is Phil
PJ
Snow
Walker
still there,
starting tonight. I mean, that's this is an organization that has kind of still embraced and gone with those Temple guys. So it's been an interesting dynamic here.
Panthers wearing black lids tonight. Put that up here so everybody can check it out. Pretty fire. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. I think the black matted look can never go wrong. Like, you could put like a turkey on the side of those things in like bright orange, and it would still look pretty cool. I just think black matted helmets are the way to go for every organization.
Well, to quote James Taylor, we've seen fire. Now we're going to see a lot of rain. The weather going to be a major factor tonight. I'll pull up the markets here on Sport Trade for the game tonight. Reports of winds, Mike, up to 20 to 30 miles per hour. Rain kind of off and on, and that's being reflected, especially in our totals market here. The total at 43.5 points. The over trading at just 43.5, which of course represents a 43.5% opportunity that's going to happen. The under is at 57.5 at last check. It was 53.5 yesterday. So if you jumped on that early, you've already made $4 per contract. And of course, you could sell that out whenever you want if you want to cash out on some closing line value. On the money line, the Panthers at $43, the Falcons at 58 on the road. And the Falcons, a rare spot for them, where they are actually a road favorite. 3.5 is the line on Sport Trade, trading at $43.58 for the Carolina Panthers to cover. I mentioned the total market here, Mike. I anticipate that's going to get even higher as we get closer to kickoff. So put on your AccuWeather 5-day forecast or 5-hour forecast. I mean, what has it been like right now, and how would a heavy rain game impact this Panthers team?
So I'm about 20 to 25 minutes away from the stadium. It's pretty gross out right now. Like it's hardcore southeast uh, end of hurricane season sort of weather preemptively. So look, I think it's going to be a wildly different dynamic than the last time these two teams met, like 11 days ago.
Yeah.
Where they were in a dome stadium. It was a shootout, 37-34, went to overtime. The dynamic here is going to be completely different. I'm expecting a very run-heavy game. PJ Walker has a tendency to throw interceptions when he targets downfield, except I guess when he plays the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then, listen, Marcus Mariota has kind of been all over the place. Like, his numbers are fine, but like, there's a group of Atlanta fans that really want this guy benched for Desmond Ridder, who, in my opinion, was the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft class, and who I'm very interested to see play in person if that does happen. This could be a game that really changes the trajectory of the Falcons, because right now they're vying for the NFC South title in this like lowly division, and if they can win, Mariota's probably going to keep his spot. Cordero Patterson is back in the lineup, who to me is the ultimate X factor, and part of the reason why the last matchup was so close, he wasn't available. And so I think, look, in a run-heavy game, it definitely favors the Falcons. D'Onta Foreman's been a beast, but we saw last week against Cincinnati that if he doesn't get his carries early, he doesn't get to really rev up. Chuba Hubbard's questionable for this game. I lean towards him playing, but I don't think his workload's going to be particularly heavy. So if you're in a fantasy league or you're betting on individual players, I think Foreman, even if Chuba Hubbard plays, is going to get the bulk of the action. And look, at wide receiver, the Panthers have DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall. Rainy weather games typically favor short intermediate routes. That's going to favor DJ Moore. They also tend to favor guys who can play bully ball. Terrace Marshall can play up to his size. We saw him last week catch his first touchdown pass on a jump ball. Then they might have a little bit of a shot. But I think this game is really going to come down to Foreman versus Patterson and each team's run defense.
It's a great point. I mean, both these teams the last 3 weeks have ranked in the top 10 in the NFL in rush play percentage, right? And if you just throw in the weather involved in that, I don't see that changing. In fact, I see this being, it has to be a pretty short game, right? With scoring opportunities, you would think being pretty limited, especially, prayers up for our writers out there. And that brings me to something else that I think is pretty interesting here, Mike, which is our lowest average opening price on the app. So this is literally what a team opens up at in our markets on Monday, and you'll see both of these teams. The Panthers are 31st out of 32 teams in the lowest opening price at just $35 per contract, which tells you that sentiment on this team is just bad. And having said that, Atlanta's only 8th. You see the little asterisk down there at $41 per contract. So the sentiment on them, despite the fact that they have had several upsets and are still in the thick of things, sentiment on them is also bad. So I'll ask you, and I'll put the pricing back up so you can see, is there value, in your opinion, on the Panthers at home tonight at just $43?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the standpoint of 3.5 is interesting, right? Because I don't know if there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. And so if it's like a 16-14, 17-14 game, right, you're making your money. And so I think giving the Panthers 3.5 points is really intriguing, especially because they lost in a shootout to the same team by 3 points, and only because of a missed field goal and a mixed extra point, really. So look, the Panthers are a team that, like, they're disruptors. I don't think you're going to ever see them really dominate a team the way that they dominated the Buccaneers a few weeks ago. But I think you'll see they're a team that can hang tight with a lot of teams. I do think this team wants to win for Steve Wilks. And I think Wilks is a guy who wants to play with a certain conviction. When I bring up the term bully ball, I think he wants to beat the heck out of his opponent, whether they win or lose.
You mentioned that Carolina defense too. Bullies on that team like Brian Burns. I think the public perception outside of Carolina is this team just sucks, but the actuality is the defense is pretty good.
Yeah, if you don't look at last week or the week before.
Well, sure.
They've given up 79 points in the last 2 weeks. Joe Mixon scored 5 touchdowns against them last week.
That just felt like a come down game, right? Like Matt Rule gets fired. They're right there with the Falcons, and then they come out and just completely get blown away by a superior squad.
And Dan, you and I are in complete agreement with that. I think this is a game where they kind of regulate, and I think both teams probably score under 23 points. I can't envision this being a very high scoring game. And what I will say too is, if you look at Marcus Mariota's mistakes throughout his career, they come in like oddities, right? Like he makes a lot of them, but they're like oddity mistakes. And I think this is a game that's going to see some mistakes from PJ Walker. It's going to see some mistakes from Marcus Mariota. I think we will see some fumbles. I think we will see some interceptions. So I think there's going to be stolen possessions here, but getting into the end zone and trusting kickers. I mean, look, Younghoe Koo is a guy who is very, very talented for the Falcons, but they better get him within like the 40-yard range if they're going to do this. Remember, he's a dome kicker typically. This is going to be a brawl, and I could see teams going for 2 points as opposed to trying extra point attempts. You know, it's not the old school style where it's just that chip shot. We saw Eddie Pinheiro struggle when it got pushed back. We saw him struggle with a 32-yarder as well. So this one is kind of a weird one. Like, it's kind of, you know, we're talking about betting and gambling here. This is a really tough game to gamble on. But if you can be really sharp and you can really, you know, study the trends of Thursday night football, somebody's going to win some money. I don't know who.
So that's a great point. And I'm just trying to look up now 4th down percentages, right? Because you mentioned it. You can't rely on kickers in 30 miles an hour wins. So what does that mean? If you're 25 yards and out, you're probably going for it on 4th down. And I don't think either team is particularly very good. Carolina is 11th in the National Football League at 4th down conversion. And Atlanta's actually 5th. So who knows? But like you said, absolutely foresee this being a brawl. Straight up, let's just get your prediction, and then we'll let you go grab some food before you go cover the game for the Charlotte Observer.
So I'm going to go with the Panthers 19. Or sorry, excuse me. I'm going to go with the Falcons 19, the Panthers 16.
Okay. All right. Not as much value on Sporttrade, but we still appreciate it nonetheless. Mike Kaye, the Charlotte Observer, thank you so much for your time, sir. Have a great evening. Try to stay dry.
Thanks.
Thanks to Mike for hopping on Market Movers with us this afternoon. We have a bit of an announcement here before we say goodbye on the program. We're going to cut back to Monday through Thursday, not for any other reason than we want to make sure those 4 shows during the week are really strong, and then we'll give people their Friday afternoons back and my opportunity to focus on some other content things going on here at Sporttrade as we continue to scale up. Things have been doing really well, going really well here at Sporttrade, so we're going to make sure that we're able to spread our wings a little more and focus on some other things in addition to Market Movers, which has been a huge success. I cannot thank people watching this show enough. Looking at our second consecutive week with over 15,000 views in a week for a show that started from an idea at a startup. It's pretty cool. So we're saying goodbye for the week for now. We will catch you right back here on Monday with, of course, Anita Marks as we recap NFL Sunday. Enjoy the games this weekend. We'll see you right back here Monday through Thursday of next week at 4 o'clock.